This episode is brought to you ad-free thanks to all of our wonderful patrons. You can get tons of exclusive content, including bonus episodes, warm-up audio, and early access to episodes, all while helping us keep the show going by joining at patreon.com/shonenflop.
Welcome to this episode of Shonen Flop, where we talk about manga in Shonen Jump that didn't make it big. I'm David.
I'm Jordan.
Next week, we're getting very spooky with necromance. If you'd like to read along with us, be sure to join the discussion in Discord and submit your 6-word summary. Find a link to the Discord in our episode description and on our website, shonenflop.com. That's right. If you want to know what word I butchered, you're going to have to check it out on the Discord.
You're going to have to figure that out yourselves, listener.
But this week, we are joined by the wonderful Jan as we discuss Two on Ice. Jan, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you mind telling the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm Jan Cash, and I work primarily as a translator from Japanese to English.
Whoa.
I also work as an editor, mostly on manhwa, actually, instead, and original English books.
That's cool. We actually have covered a manhwa called Dark Mage because we didn't realize it wasn't a manga, and that was like the fifth thing. And Jordan and I were like, wait, why is this not going right to left? So Jan, though, I have two questions. So I guess my first one is, so you said you typically don't translate manga like this. How did you end up on Two on Ice?
So for simulpubs, basically editors approach us about whether or not we want to work on a series. We don't really get a lot of choice. We can say yes or no, but otherwise we can't say like, I claim this or anything like that. So it's just offered to a nice, and it was from a new editor, and generally I try to say yes whenever a new editor approaches me, because then usually I can keep on working with them. I don't usually work on sports manga. Two on Ice was a bit of a challenge, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so great to hear.
Yeah.
And then my second question for you is, what would you say is your favorite translation you have ever made?
Probably Trojan X.
Oh my God.
So what was the specific moment like where you were like, oh, the stars align? It's like a really great pun that you have like a perfect English equivalent to. I guess, what is the proudest single line of translation you've ever done?
I don't really have one.
That's totally fair.
David always tries asking people, like, what's the one best thing you've ever done? And they're
I'm
like,
just trying to let Jan flex her translation muscles.
Hopefully it's the one in the future. The one that I don't know about yet is going to be the best one.
Oh, perfect. Well, you'll definitely have to let us know when the time comes. You're like, this is the best translation I've ever done. But you definitely did some great work, though. I did hear there's like part of the page that's just already in English. So where you're just like, oh, great, I can take it easy this week.
For Trojan X or Two on Ice?
For Two on Ice, there's like a section where they're dancing and there's English words. And MaxyBee said that's already was in English in the raws.
I don't remember which part that is. There was a lot of text in Two on Ice.
I was going to say.
I noticed that.
I feel the Hunter translators probably were not jealous of you doing this series.
Oh my God. The volume of text in this series. Wow.
All right, but why don't we actually talk about that volume of text as we get into the manga details? Take it away, Jordan.
More like 4 volumes of text. Anyway, this is Two on Ice, written by Elck Itsumo. Is that an elf?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Elck, like the giant deer, they were notably an assistant for Daisuke Enoshima of Fabricate 100.
Ooh, that was a Shonen Flop favorite.
Oh yeah, kick-ass ending. Check that out. That was episode 87. Notable people that Elck had as assistants. MaxyBee says, actually, they had nobody notable, but maybe they'll be notable one day. As for this person's other work, Two on Ice is Itsumo's debut, but they've done some one-shots beforehand, including Higan no Hai from Jump Giga, Railway/Gateway, Weekly Shonen Jump. She's Nothing But a Stone from, Weekly Shonen Jump. The Two in the Garden of Morning. Wow. Jump Plus 2023. And We Are Just What We Need 2023. Yeah, but we're not talking about that. Talking about Two on Ice, which ran from September 24th, 2023 to April 14th, 2024. It replaced Do Retry, or Do Retry. See, like, that fucking pronunciation. It's apparently both ways. I don't remember. By Jun Kirarazaka, which was 2 volumes. That was a flop, and that was episode 91 of our podcast, listener. I believe that was also the author of Bone Collection.
Do you retry? Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's also an episode. I don't remember what number episode it was, but that was an episode, and we didn't like that series. The series that replaced that is next episode. David, you want to pronounce that title again? And? All right, yeah. I asked you to pronounce the name. Anyway, by Fusai Naba. 2 volumes. It's a flop. You know, it's amazing that this series ended on April 14th, and already the follow-up series has flopped. But a series started at the same time as this was Mama Yu Yu. That was a flop, 4 volumes. And episode 104 of this podcast. And David, the greatest manga of all time, Kagurabachi! The manga of all time by Takaru Hokazuno. That's on 3+ volumes so far, David. That's not going to be a flop. No fucking way. That's going to go for 2,000 chapters, at least.
I know it. I haven't read it yet, though.
It's a meme manga.
It's just the first chapter, the character says he has a scar on his head because it reminds him every day when he looks in a mirror to wake up with fresh hatred. And it's said completely straight-faced.
Kagurabachi, if you don't know, became a meme manga before it came out, basically. I'm not really sure why, probably just because it looked very generic.
And fun fact, we covered the first chapter on our Patreon.
That's true. You want to hear our thoughts on it? Maybe you should send us a little bit of money. Then you'll be able to hear it. But 2 on Ice, on the flip side, went for 28 chapters and 4 volumes, which is, of course, hundreds, if not thousands of chapters less than Kagurabachi's gonna go. Anyway, let's get into about this fucking manga.
Heck yeah.
When Hayuma was a little kid, he saw a girl do figure skating really good, which made him want to figure skate good too. He'd practice on a nearby frozen lake and watch her skate on TV, where he'd copy her moves until one day she disappeared. As a teenager, his family moved to the city, which had actual skating rinks, and meets one of the employees named Kisada, Saotome, which is not quite right because she's not an employee, who happens to be the little girl. Kisada said she quit skating singles because she wanted to skate doubles, but she can't find a partner. Even though she's creeped out by Hayuma's obsession with her, she asks him to be her partner. Kisada tells him that, dang, he's so good and could become famous doing singles, so maybe he shouldn't do doubles, but he says he wants to do it to help her and keep the manga going.
Wait, what's the name of this manga, I wonder?
Yeah! 1 on Ice, right?
The 2 are trained by skating duo Natsubi and Natsuya Kirishima, 2 twins whose family owns the rink they skate at. Kisada tells Hayuma that they should totally do a pair triple axel, which has never been done in competition before, so they spend the rest of the manga not shutting the fuck up about it. Popcorn Jordan.
Hayuma is nervous about touching Kisada, so the Kirishimas introduce them to a pair who used to be a couple that broke up, and it doesn't matter because they do nothing. I don't even know why I wrote them here. Anyway, the actual reason why Kisada left is because a superstar named Takayuki was misogynistic and told her that she should have been born a boy if she wanted to be really good. Dang. Demoralized, she decides to switch to doubles, where she believes she'd be more successful, and she was then kicked out by her coach who has no eyes. Hayuma ends up competing in a singles tournament where he lands the triple axel. Whoa, OMG, he can do it, wow! Takayuki is a massive, huge superstar and also a dick, and decides he's going to start skating pairs, seemingly just to spite Kisada. First, he's got to get gold at the Olympics, which he does pretty easily. It's NBD.
That's the easy part.
That's the easy part. Seriously, though, I cannot stress to you how much of this manga is just explaining the rules and techniques of ice skating. Popcorn David.
Takayuki decides to choose his pair's partner and chooses a girl named Humuro. They compete against the main characters in a tournament, and it turns out he didn't pick Humuro because she's good, but because she was bad. He intentionally humiliates her in order to draw out a super fan to take her place, but they end up winning anyway because he's just that good. Like, literally, they're like, there's no point he did that move. He literally just was flexing on them.
Yeah, they kept being like, oh man, he's fucking up. He's just throwing this, you know? This is not how a pairs match is supposed to go. And then it turns out, nah, it actually was. He's fine.
Takayuki and Humuro drop out after she leaves him, so they get a medal, the main characters that is, even though they were the only ones, because they're like 2 people competed in this event and the other one dropped out.
There were only 2 teams!
What a fucking pointless final act. Takayuki is then approached by Yuko, the trash girl, who is a super fan that has copied all of his moves. It turns out that Takayuki is a dick because when he was a kid, he was one of the only boys who was into figure skating, and so he wished he was a girl. And man, I really do wish this manga was brave enough to really go with those LGBT themes. Then Kisara and Hayuma go to compete in a tournament. The end. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's the classic shonen flop ending of, yeah, I don't know, we'll get him next time.
Yeah, what an ending. But what a bunch of characters. So, Jan, do you mind telling us about the quote-unquote main character of the series?
So Hayuma, he loves skating so much. He's really, really good at it.
Yeah.
But he's also kind of dumb and doesn't know any of the rules. And everyone wants him on the sports team, or the pairs team.
There's really not much to say about him. My note is, hoomst? Because who the fuck is this guy? He's nothing. His main thing is that he's magically really good at ice skating. Wow, he's as good as Kisara. And it seems like the reason is literally because he's a boy and she's a girl.
Yeah, there's not really an explanation about how he's so good. He's got like Taskmaster powers.
Taskmaster?
The Marvel guy who can duplicate anything he's seen once.
Right, yeah. And Deadpool defeats him by dancing like an idiot.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But yeah, I don't really know what else to add. So Jordan, why don't you tell us about that? The person I think we all wish had been the main character of the series.
Oh, Kisara. Yeah, Kisara Saotome. She's actually somewhat interesting in comparison to Hayuma, who is not interesting at all. Kisara at least has some conflict. She has like a goal. Like she's an ex-gifted kid, you know?
That genius burnout is real.
It's true. And she got kicked out of skating. She was a huge prodigy and she was getting famous, but then, yeah, Takayuki was a fucking dick to her and freaked her out. And then the coach, who, like I said, she has no eyes. We literally never see her eyes.
Yeah.
It's she just looks unfinished. I kept expecting us to see a face reveal. We don't. It seems like the second Hayuma shows up, she gets a crush on him?
It's like very strange. Jan, did you have any other thoughts on her?
I don't know if she like has a crush on him so much as like they're just in middle school and really awkward.
We've all been there.
It's more just like the second he shows up, she's like taken by him. She like likes him like immediately when there's no reason to. All she knows is that he sort of stalked her, kind of.
Yeah, it's like he's very lucky that they're like 13 or 14, so it's not as weird that he like stalked her as a kid.
It's not so much stalking as he was obsessed with her.
Yeah, or the obsession, it was like a cute obsession instead of a weird obsession because of how young he was.
Yeah, but it does seem weird how she's just like, hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but you want to be my ice skating partner?
So skate with me, maybe. I love how this skating manga has a villain that really doesn't, like, it just felt like editorials like you need to have a villain for this manga.
Yeah!
Because we have Takayuki Sora, who is the pretty boy. Everyone thinks he's the best. He doesn't really like all the attention, but he kind of does. He embodies that very stereotypical, the weak should fear the strong kind of bad guy, where it's like, I'm a bad guy and dominant because you're weaker than me, which makes me be able to control you. And he's obsessed with Satome, and he does make that comment saying he wishes he was a girl, but the series didn't go long enough to really say like in a gender dysphoria way or more just like a like it's very complicated, and that is an area I wish the series had more time to develop.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to completely discount the possibility that it's a trans thing, but like the way that it's framed, it's more that he's just like, I want to do this, but it's like a girly thing. So I wish I was a girl and people wouldn't and there would be more people who are my peers that were doing this.
That's fair.
I don't know. It is what it is.
I thought that he was like molested, actually.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, like there's I'm trying to like find the spot because I have the book out with me, and I think that there's like a part where there's a woman who like comes in to the locker room. I'm not sure if I'm making this up now because I'm just it was like really quick.
They do say you've been hurt by a woman, haven't you?
And then there's a part where he's like sobbing and then like goes on this rant about how much he hates women.
I think that was like supposed to just be because he had the same coach that Kisara had, and she basically told him, hey, all these like angry, hateful feelings you have, actually you should give in to them. Give in to the hatred. That is how you will be strong. So his whole thing was, I will be beautiful, but in a way that is evil. Only by being evil can you be truly beautiful. That's basically him.
What a villain.
Yeah. I'm going to dance to a Franz Liszt song about Dante's Inferno because I'm on the nose as fuck.
Yeah, he's not subtle. He seems to kind of have a nice side where it was like that guy fucked up the Olympics and he gave him a hug.
That guy was also like his like specific older brother figure, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. All right. Do we have anything else to say about the characters, or shall we get into why it failed on the note of how two-dimensional the bad guy was?
Yeah, let's go.
So, Jan, beyond the characters having some issues, what would you say something stood out to you, something you didn't enjoy about the series?
Okay, so as a translator, I have very different nitpicks from probably normal readers.
Yeah.
But the amount of text, that was like, it was killing me every
I
week.
gotta be real with you, Doc. I think everyone reading this series says, why is there so much fucking text in it? But I can see why this was very painful for you.
I like the series, but wow, there was just so much. I was looking up rule books every week, like going through the 2023 like list of rules because they change every year, and I think that was also listing a specific revision in the
The figure skating rules?
yeah, in the background text. Like those are real.
For the record, Jordan, they had a consultant. They had a very famous professional ice skater help work on the series.
Tanya Harding?
Narumi Takahashi worked on the series. But yeah, actually, she speaks like 7 languages. So I wonder, Jan, if you could have just rung her up if you had a question.
Oh, if only.
But yeah, it's just so much is said in the text, and it's just like you cannot keep your concentration and care about it when there's that much text. Like you can have like maybe 1 or 2 pages, but this easily had probably twice the word count of the average Shonen Jump series. And this is a sports manga. It's not like they have a power system to explain or lore. It's figure skating. The whole point is to be showing people the actual art of ice skating.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
That's the problem. Like, I feel like very little happens in this series, I feel.
This series doesn't really have a plot. I don't think they ever firmly put a stake in the ground and say, here's the motivation of these characters. Here's the end stake goal. They were never even like, we're going to win the Olympics just happened. We're going to gold medal in the next Olympics and it's going to be our 4-year journey. I do not know what the motivation of these characters were.
The motivation seems to just be landing the pair triple axel. Legit. That is the main consistent motivation throughout the whole thing.
And then, Jan, I have to ask, did this increase or decrease your interest in figure skating?
I think I'm still neutral. I don't want to know any more about the rules.
That's fair. We actually just read Green Greens, which was about golf, and I actually was like, I actually kind of want to play golf after this. I do not want to figure skate after reading this series.
I just care arguably less because now I'm kind of sick of it because I had to read so much text about it. And I didn't remember like the vast majority of it. They focused so much on the rules that they didn't really focus on the characters. You don't need to explain to me the concept of figure skating. It's so funny because this is such a contrast to Green Greens. It's almost like the universe was like, no, you don't get it. Green Greens did a really good job. Look.
Green Greens died for this. Another issue that's not even related to the text is just like, this just feels like Blue Box at home. I don't know if, Jordan, you've read Blue Box. I don't know, Jan, have you read Blue Box?
I haven't read it, but I know about it.
So it's another romance manga, sports manga in Shonen Jump. So it's like, what was like this entire manga I was reading? I was like, I should just go read Blue Box, which is way, way better than this.
So I will say that while initially and for like the first half of the manga, I really thought it was a romance, it kind of stops feeling like one after a certain point. Like, I don't think it was explicitly romantic. I do think Blue Box is significantly better. I'm not going to sit here and say that's not true. It definitely feels like a romance at times, though.
Yeah, it feels like maybe there was an editorial control into the extent of the romance between the characters.
According to MaxyBee, the author did not intend for this to really be a romance, which surprised me at the time.
They have that entire chapter about like the couples that are ice skating, and it's like, how do we avoid your pitfalls?
That chapter was the moment I went from kind of being bored by this series to like actively disliking the series.
God.
That moment was so annoying. So here's the thing, Jan, I talk a lot about how in a lot of the flops that we read, there's like this concept of the surrogate older brother, where it's just like this older established person sees the main character and for literally no reason is like, hey, you're cool. I'm gonna fight for you, man. I'm here to help you. And it doesn't make any sense, but they're just like super nice to them for no reason. And that happens so many times in this series. They even comment on when Hayuma meets Takayuki for the first time. He's like, whoa, everybody else I've met has been really nice. And finally, we're meeting someone who's a dick. That's strange.
And they make him cartoonishly evil. Literally brought a girl to a competition to just show how much better he was and make her run off crying.
Yeah.
My God, did you have zero confidence in writing characters?
And yeah, I agree. It feels like an editorial mandated villain.
Jan, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you feel were issues with the series?
I think that it's not really, it shouldn't have been a shonen series. I think it should have been a shoujo series. I mean, ice skating is also like, I think that it's mostly women who are actually interested in manga like that.
Which is the villain's motivation.
Yeah. So
No, it's true, because if it was a shoujo series, they also could have made Kisara the main character, which would have immediately improved the series.
Jan, when you were translating this, do you feel like, was there a point where you're like, oh, fuck, this series isn't good?
I don't ever feel that way with series.
Oh, you're a better person than me.
I think that Shonen Jump series are better edited, I think, than some other series and get a lot more attention. So I never really feel that way with Jump.
Do you feel that way with other things that you edit, though?
Sometimes I feel a little bit. I like that, I guess, but mostly for stuff that and not really trying to do its own thing.
Where you're just like, oh, this is bad Hunter.
No, not so much. I mostly so on a personal basis, I read a lot of romance fantasy. So like all of that is just here's a villainess reincarnated in another world, and she masters like the economy 12 times over. Yeah. Like Jump doesn't really do stuff like that, though, where like isekai and things like that. So I never really feel that like things are bad. I do feel like it wasn't in the right magazine though. And that kind of gave it a direction that didn't really work for the type of series it was.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because, like, since it is in Shonen Jump, I feel like the Shonen Jump editors tend to push their series in certain directions, and I don't think that those directions work for this series.
Yeah, it feels like they give the author like 8 chapters to do what they want, and if it's not instantly a success, editorial's like, okay, we're having you do this like template.
Yeah, I felt that as soon as they started showing all of the other pair skaters and introducing a billion characters all in one chapter, because that was like, those chapters are also really difficult just in general with series, because suddenly you have a whole bunch of different names that you have to suddenly memorize, and you know that they're going to come back.
I agree. One last thing, or I guess 2 things is, did you guys realize it takes till chapter 26 they actually perform ice skating in front of an audience?
It takes so long for them to ice skate in this ice skating manga. You know, they practice a lot, but that's not the same. There was very little tension a lot of the time in the series.
And then the last thing is also, they completely sugarcoat how brutal ice skating is. Like, the consultant who worked on it actually openly talked about how she developed a very serious eating disorder because she had to maintain weight.
They just mentioned that in a footnote, like a girl's eating, and it's like asterisk, by the way, girls develop eating disorders.
And that's the way the series could have been more interesting, is actually be realistic about how difficult ice skating is.
Right.
Anyway, we do have to talk about some positive things. So let's get into what it did well. And before we get into that, though, if you've been enjoying the show, we'd really appreciate if you subscribe to the Shonen Flop YouTube. We're trying to hit our goal of 1,500 YouTube subs. And if we hit it, we'll do a special bonus episode on the Bill King epilogue. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. So I think that probably the easiest thing to say is the art is nice. There's a good sense of motion. There's good use of gray tones. It definitely can show a lot of good imagery of the ice skating.
Yo, this paneling is banging.
Bussin' even.
Some pretty great paneling, though. It's for real.
Yeah. What did you think of the art, Jan?
I thought it was beautiful. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to work on it, too.
Get the art. There's no text.
Jan, I completely agree.
Yeah, I generally agree. The motion is like really, really nice. I think that Elck is really like good at drawing figure skating, and
I agree. For all of the issues that I have with it, when the figure skating is actually happening, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
He has a very solid sense of anatomy and like form. The characters have weight to them. The moments where Takayuki is skating and he's doing like the Dante's Inferno thing, it looks amazing. It's really cool. Like this guy, even though I question his writing capabilities, he's absolutely someone who should be drawing an ice skating manga.
That's the thing, is like when the text isn't covering the art. God. Although I will say in the moment there is some rough art when the author, I think, hasn't really figured out how to spend his time well.
There are definitely moments where like certain panels seem like kind of an afterthought as opposed to other ones. I will say though, I really liked Kisara's design. I think that those 2 poofball earrings are adorable.
Yeah, and how her hair looks like a poofball earring. Oh, in terms of the paneling flex, I also love when he does a backflip, they turn one of the panels upside down.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's an audience, you can see the audience upside down.
It's interesting, like, as opposed to Mama Yu Yu, which did, like, a lot of really creative things with panels, this is a lot more subtle than Mama Yu Yu. Whereas with Mama Yu Yu, it was like the panels are breaking the 4th fucking wall, and, like, sometimes they were, like, distracting. Whereas this one, they were a lot more dynamic, but, like, I think flowed better.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a really solid foundation for their next series. Outside the art, I do think the series does treat the female main character with a lot of respect.
Yeah.
The women, there is one female character that is sexualized, and there's like that classic boob envy joke, which I actually hadn't seen in a very long time. But otherwise, it's like, this is like, as you said, this very easily could have had the female main character. I should probably be using her name as I talk about they respect women in the series.
Kisara?
Yeah. Satome, very easily, they could have just made her the focus of this series and not a lot would have changed, which shows that she was a very like well-treated character, even if there wasn't a lot of good character development.
I like Kisara. I think that she has the potential to be a very interesting character.
Yeah. And then how about you, Jan? What do you think?
I'm going to say something weird, which both of you will probably disagree, but I actually like Takayuki.
Whoa.
Let her cook.
Yeah. I really liked the part where he just sort of starts ranting to himself in front of his manager and like does the like cross pose and everything. And then his manager is just like, wow, this guy is a weirdo. Why is he doing all this? Like that was great. That was, I think, my favorite part of the series.
I really liked the moment where the manager calls him ridiculous and he's like, you think I'm ridiculous? And then he's basically like, yeah, you randomly cackle to yourself and like start saying like insane evil things. And he's like, you may have a point, actually.
Shit, dude. Am I the baddie?
Yeah, that part was great. And I think that towards the end also there was, when they started focusing on him and actually going through his backstory, I thought that there was a lot of potential there too. Because at the beginning, he's just sort of like this random, almost faceless guy who appears out of nowhere and is just terrible to everyone. But then there's like there's room for him to also grow as a character, and they just never actually got to do that. And that was something I was really disappointed in.
That actually might be a good segue into where it could have gone. So, Jan, killing it.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's get into that. So, Jan, why don't you continue that thought and tell us what are some things you would have changed about the series?
Yeah, I think that focusing on different characters, like we keep on saying over and over again, really helped a lot. Yeah, I think that's part of that is just because it's in Shonen Jump, so they had to have a character that their main readership, or who they thought their main readership was, could sort of insert themselves into and relate to, except that I don't think that was their main readership. I think that was probably women who are actually reading this series, because a lot of women read Shonen Jump too.
It's true.
I do wonder if there was like an attempt to make Shonen Jump more woman friendly between this Akane Banashi and Blue Box, because they all came out around the same time, didn't they? Or like roughly in the same like 2-year period.
Maybe. I mean, as we of course know, having read The Right Way to Make Jump, Shonen Jump is proudly sexist and actively does not want to hire women. So, but I will say, like, I agree with Jan here. I think that if the series had cut out the majority of the practicing and like compressed it so that like Takayuki shows up way earlier, so that like his backstory shows up way more, like you keep the character moments and focus more on these character moments, that really would have helped the series. Because I don't care about figure skating rules, but I can care about characters who care about figure skating rules.
Yeah. I also think, I don't know why, but I thought the series would have been fun if it was set in the 80s to really get away from like current world events that they had to like pretend didn't happen. Because it's like, I don't know why, but I just feel like Satome dresses from the 80s for some reason.
I hear you. I see what you mean. Yeah, because she straight up says, okay, Google at one point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's like crazy rich and they never really talk about it.
Yeah.
So I guess, would you guys say, would the series have been better if the romance themes were stronger?
I think the friendship themes should have been stronger. Like, it was there. I feel like it wasn't really well developed. Like, you're just supposed to trust that they trust each other now. And it didn't really feel like, it felt like the story was telling you that they were doing better relationship-wise, like as partners.
Yeah.
But I didn't really buy into it all the time.
It was very much telling and not showing.
It really needed to pick a lane, though.
Exactly. It needed to pick a lane. Is it going to be more platonic and we're going to see these people just build up trust and be friends? Or are they going to be in a romance? Because I think either one could work, but you have to go in one of those directions.
I think it would have been nice if they were platonic and the story was like Satome finding a reason to love ice skiing again because she now has this like cinnamon roll golden retriever partner.
Yeah.
And it's really her perspective. Because I also felt like the series didn't really explain why she partnered with him. Maybe it's explained in the fucking paragraphs of text, but I still never really understood why someone this talented kind of picked just a random kid to be her partner.
They kind of covered that. Basically, they were just using him.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it just seemed like such a weak reason.
It is a weak reason, especially when she's like, I don't know, he seems too good for me. You know, like she's like straight up, nah, I'll only drag him down, basically. Like it becomes a situation where he will join her out of the goodness of his own heart. It's a charitable act that he is with her, basically. He's helping her by teaming up with him.
Which I think in the right framework, if she was the main character, I could have seen that working.
I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way because he's supposed to be the newbie who's not very good, and she is the experienced prodigy.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be he is working to try and get her to join him.
That makes a lot of sense. And then, Jan, did you have any other thoughts on this topic?
Kind of feel similarly, though. I think that they tried to address that a little bit, and it's mostly because the feeling that I got was Kisa knows that her career is eventually, if she stayed in singles, would eventually just sort of evaporate, or she was afraid that it would, enough so that she switched over to pairs, and that kind of explains why she thinks that she's dragging Hayuma down.
Yeah.
They sort of do cover that he's not doing it out of charity. Like the other characters keep telling him over and over again to do it because like he wants to be in pairs. I think that it just sort of goes so fast.
Yeah.
It goes very fast, and it's also like, I don't know, because his reason, like, it's like, only do it if this is your choice, but then his reason is, well, she chose me. It's like, I don't know. Like, the author figured out, oh, there's a contradiction here, and then couldn't come up with a good reason.
But I do think I have a good reason to talk about something else. So why don't we get into miscellaneous thoughts?
Yeah.
It's interesting. The series really makes me think of PPPP for some reason. Maybe it's the art style. So I don't know why, but that's just the manga I most think about while reading this.
Really?
The weird writing style, the art being kind of not quite standard. There's just something very PPPP about it.
I don't see it, because, like, the writing style in PvP felt, like, a lot more subtle to me. The music choices in this series were very interesting.
I was kind of disappointed they didn't have, like, a QR code on the start of each chapter. And it's like, oh, listen along while you read this chapter.
Oh, God. Yeah, so what do they have? They have a Justin Bieber song. They have I Write Sins Not Tragedies by Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, I was actually surprised they had real music. Like, Jan, did you have to like check to make sure you could use the actual song names, or is it just like you just could translate it?
Oh, I'm just a translator, so I don't need to check anything.
Oh, great.
We have lawyers to deal with the legal shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the editor got to probably check in on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Jan, while we're in miscellaneous thoughts, do you have any interesting tidbits of your experience translating this?
Basically, before I started it, because we get some advance notice sometimes, if they already know at Viz like that something's coming in, they try to get a translator on it early sometimes. So I had a few weeks where I was just sort of watching a whole bunch of ice skating videos for a few hours a day, which was a lot of fun. That part was really great, and I didn't quite realize I would go into the rules so deeply. So I was just watching like old performances and not really considering like the points and stuff, just what kind of moves there were and everything like that.
Appreciate you putting all that extra effort in while translating it.
Yeah.
I also gotta say, I feel like some of those shirts were fun, like that I Can Skate a Little. I wonder if that was actually thought of by, because the consultant speaks English, and I don't think, Jan, you didn't translate that, right?
No, I did for that one.
Oh.
So that was you. So you created the best shirt in that series.
Yeah.
The shirt was already there. I just made it English.
Oh, okay.
You did a good job.
Do you remember what the literal translation in Japanese was?
Oh, I don't remember. I translate those once, and then when I see them again, I just copy and paste. I don't really read it over and over. I just glance at it.
That is fair. Also, this is unrelated to anything else. I feel like Quicksilver, the Marvel superhero, is dressed like an ice skater. I don't know if that's on purpose, but he just has that vibe.
He definitely looks like an ice skater. I absolutely see what you mean.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the series, they jump to like this TV editorial room or whatever, or like programming where they're trying to figure out the ice skating programming, and like this girl is arguing, no, we should show Kisara and Hayuma, and the head guy is like, nah, that's dumb, we gotta focus on Takayuki. And then a guy is like, nah, man, we should show Kisara and Hayuma, and he's like, you know, you make a good point, sexism in action.
In Shonen Jump,
Yeah,
you gotta understand, Jordan, we live in a society.
we do.
And we also live in a world with MaxyBee, luckily enough. So let's hear some trivia from them. MaxyBee says, as noted before, they had a consultant, the national Japanese champion, Narumi Takahashi, who has won many a gold medal and also well known for being a member of the LGBT community.
Whoa.
So I wonder what her thoughts are on some of the LGBT elements in this series. It's actually quite rare for a series to really talk about their advisor, but given she's a famous Olympian, it's not really a surprise that she's mentioned quite a few times in the series as helping on it. Interestingly, the only other case where the consultant is mentioned so much is in Do Retry, which we've already talked about before.
Interesting.
And MaxyBee wants to give a PSA saying this is very screen tone heavy and you really, really should be reading it on the original release. The art hits a lot harder, just digitally does not do it justice.
Ah.
This is kind of like Pokemon, where despite the mentioning a real skater in Chapter 4, it is later stated that this is an alternative world where there are no real-life professional skaters. So it's much like how Pokemon mentioned China in Red and Blue and then had to retcon that out. The mistletoe dance sequence in Chapter 13, as we were talking before, Jan, all of that was already written in English, so you got to take off easy on that chapter.
That's a Bieber song.
Yeah,
right?
it's a Justin Bieber song.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
So actually, my question for you is, if you notice like grammar mistakes, would you fix it or would you have left it as is?
For that, I think that was lyrics that were probably online, so there wouldn't have been mistakes. I think that there were none. It was just like punctuation usually that's different.
Oh, interesting.
For other series, though, sometimes you're not allowed to change things, I think. That all happens like on the editorial side because I'm just a freelancer, so I'm not really privy to any of those conversations.
No, that's fair. I was just curious if you see English mistakes, if you have to fix it or not.
I note them, at least, but they don't always get fixed.
Gotcha. I know Stephen Paul was talking about how sometimes he'll notice like a mistake and like have to talk to editorial and be like, should this be fixed? Like Oda had like a typo in the original and it was like a very blatant typo. And they actually fixed it in the English version, which I thought was really cool, that you had to wait till the volume release in Japan to see the original Japanese version fixed.
Yeah, that's cool.
I do think it would be really funny to go up to Stephen Paul and be like, yo, you have a typo here. And it's like, no, Oda had a typo.
Well, that was that whole Gear 3rd, Gear 4th thing where he was like, nah, it says Gear 4th, even though it's Gear 3rd in that chapter. He's felt that recently. Shout out to Stephen Paul. He was a guest on our show. Great guy. And then Chapter 14 was released on Christmas Eve in the US and Christmas Day in Japan. An incredibly lucky bit. So that is the trivia that is the Christmas theme chapter. And if you want to learn about the volume extras, you can check out MaxyBee's full unabridged notes on our Patreon. And does anyone have anything else, or shall we move into the final verdict?
Christmas was like relevant in this series.
Very big Christmas energy.
Because Takayuki was like born on Christmas Eve. Like they call him like a gift from God. There are a lot of times where people kind of allude to him being like figure skating Jesus, basically. But he's like, little do they know, I'm the figure skating devil.
That can be your angle or your devil.
Basically, yeah.
Axel, I can be your Axel or your devil.
Hey.
All right, so now let's get into the final verdict. Let's kick things off from the community. Tucker says skating's less dynamic than golf, apparently, and exhaustively telling us, barely showing us. That is very true. MaxyBee, 2 people, 1 ice reaction video. God damn it. I actually had that, and then I saw MaxyBee, so I had to delete mine. Where I was like 2 skate, 1 ice or something. Or Paladin says, sports and jump, it'll never work. Boss says, sport romance, just read Blue Box. There it is. Blamumu, flawed protagonist, gets the axe again.
I wish he was flawed.
Chicken Warlord, look elsewhere for Icehead Thrills. Which is funny because that's talking about axes and the one above it.
Hey.
That's a reference to Icehead Gill for all our flop heads out there. Dackerson says, win no medal is not a medalist. Diego, just watch Blades of Glory instead. Doogie 4, Bambi was more graceful than this. Dude Rocks, thought you'd cover this in winter. Funky Green Overdrive, breaking news, skating manga gets iced. Glorneck Ironspawn, failed to compete among its peers. Gray Potter, being male is his superpower.
Isekai Sensei, 'twas offered innocence, then overindulged. Captain Clueless, 2 teens tried to twirl together. Lass of the Red Rose, rough year for ice skating anime manga, and then it has like an angry emoji. Lord Anubis, another sports manga, has been iced. Luffy 0321, mediocre skater outperformed by melodramatic rival. Meru, glacial undergoing, neat dances, average manga. Portal Man, couldn't figure 8 out of this flop. Nice. Resident Warhammer nerd. Get it? It was iced. I get it. Riel, there sure were 2 on ice. Riley, always twirling towards cancellation. S-Bubby, shaky skaters, struggling, sparring, stylish Sephiroth. I see. Scott, there's no Yuri on this ice. The Wolf, the Wood, the Trafalgar. This wasn't hockey, so I passed. Thors, I liked the broken up couple. Xylon, antagonist too edgy for cute manga. David,
I had two, so you'll have to tell me. Jordan, you and Jane will have to tell me which one was better. It skates on plot thin ice and the ambiguously gay ice skating duo.
I would say the second one, but I don't know who you're talking about.
You've never seen the ambiguously gay duo from...
No, I don't know who the gay ice skating duo in this
They're
manga
all
was.
ambiguously gay, Jordan. That's the plot of this manga.
All right, then I'll go with the second one.
Okay. And then, Jordan, what was your 6-word summary?
Wow, GGG was real fucking good.
Yeah, it really was not fair to read this after one of the best things we've ever read.
Well, but it's also like the setup was very similar. Like you have a newbie guy getting into a sport and meeting an experienced, really talented girl, and
who should have been the protagonist.
Who should have been the protagonist, and he like gets into the sport, and she shows him like, and she like helps him get better and stuff like that. It was very similar but better.
Yeah. And then Jan, what was your 6-word summary?
Pairs aren't popular. Please watch more.
I love it. And then can we all say, I will say this is a flop. Jordan, are you calling this one certified?
I don't think I'm calling it certified, but I think it's a flop. I didn't hate it. I don't think it's awful.
How would you, Jan?
I don't think it was a flop, but I think it's not the best series.
So you don't think it's a flop? Interesting.
I think that it had a lot of potential and also lasted longer than other series I've been on.
That's fair. Jordan, I thought this was a flop. And then Jordan, I assume since you wrote your 6-word summary twice, and that wasn't a mistake, you are saying read GGG.
Sure. Also, there's a cute little hockey roguelike called Tape to Tape that I recommend.
Ooh, interesting.
I haven't played it, but I think it looks fun.
And then my recommendation is Shoha Shoten if you want some doubles performing fun. If people aren't aware, it's about traditional Japanese comedy, and it's very good. I do not know how the translator does it. Shout out to Stephen Paul again. But they were able to make Japanese comedy actually funny in English as well. So if you guys want to check that out, it's got a lot of the same kind of DNA and structure as this series, but is much, much better.
Oh.
All right, cool. And then, Jordan, I don't think this is the worst thing we've ever read. This is probably one of the stronger flops, I would say.
I think it's in the middle. I definitely don't think it's one of the worst. I unquestionably not. But I don't know if I'd say it's like one of the better ones. I don't know. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I think it is closer towards the top of the pile, I will say.
So let's now get into the wrap up. Jan, thank you so much for joining us and bringing all of your awesome translator insights. Where can people get more of your awesome work in their life?
I have a Twitter that I don't post on anymore.
That is fair.
That's fair. Jan, is there any series you're translating right now that you wish more people were reading?
Shinobi Undercover.
Whoa, what's that about? That sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's about ninjas, and they infiltrate a school in order to protect a girl, and they don't know why they're protecting her. And also, the main character is so awkward that he pretty much can't talk to any people, except he kind of does.
It's like me, for real.
And also the girl befriends him because she thinks that he's very funny because he's socially awkward.
Oh, that's how my wife adopted me.
That's how I made friends in high school.
You love to see it. That is fantastic. I also want to say props to Jordan for making the opening ending theme, being a great co-host, and helping with the editing.
Thank you, David, for all the hard work that you do on this podcast.
No problem. Props to Merliel for the awesome cover art. Find her online at Lyle Mur, and Nigel for being our generous art benefactor. Thank you, Dylan, for assistance with editing. You can find his podcast, Anime Out of Context, at animeoutofcontext.com. Thanks to Tucker MaxyBee for assistance with pronunciation, translation, other miscellaneous research. Find us on Twitter at ShonenFlopcast, Tumblr Shonen-Flop, our website ShonenFlop.com. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcasts. If you want more weekly David and Jordan content, you can also find us every Friday on the Chainsaw Minute, where we talk about the latest chapter of Chainsaw Man. Find at csm.libsyn.com or wherever else you listen to Shonen Flop. And come join the Shonen Flop Discord. It's open to everyone. Hang out with us and talk about anime, games, whatever else is on your mind. We even have a manga book club where they're going through Black Cat. And we also have a weekly movie night, which has been really fun. You can find a link to it in the show notes or on our site, shonenflop.com. And if you've been enjoying the podcast and want to help us keep going, consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/shonenflop. Along with that warm and fuzzy feeling of helping us out, you also get access to monthly bonus episodes, including the Shonen Drop, where Jordan and I look back at the previous month's episode and open the mystery box. Jordan, what was our bonus episode and what was in the mystery box for the month of October?
Well, David, our bonus episode was me finally making you read Get a Robo, and the mystery box, well, that was us reviewing the pilot to Cool Shock BT.
Yes, Rocky's favorite series about the adventures of teenage Dio.
Oh, yes. Basically.
Now, that's a series that has to deal with copyright issues.
Araki inherently has to deal with copyright issues, even if there aren't direct copyrights violations.
And if that's not enough, other perks include picking a manga for us to cover in a main episodes up to a week in advance, and behind-the-scenes content like our warm-up audio or recording notes. I also want to read off some of our wonderful patrons. Starting with our dolphin dads, we have Glornak, I Smell Your Breath, and Rachel, my wonderful wife. We just had a fantastic time in Chicago. Moving on down to the Ravioli tier, where, as I talk about in the warm-up audio, Ravioli may be the most domesticated dog to ever exist. We have Chris, Eva, Jeanette Davis, Lady T, Matt, Scarlett, T, Tiffany, and Trevor. Moving on down to the King of the Forest, we have 090Z, Bandit Stoof,
My girlfriend,
Brad, Chad, Ivan, Jacob, Justin, Kirbymon, Marty, Noah, Riley, Sarah, T. Wolfwood, and Tommy Boy. And a big thank you to our Galactic Ball Federation officers and our Beast Children.
Yes, thank you. I love you all very much.
All right, anything you want to toss in, Jordan?
Listen to Mission Ignition.
Yeah. All right, let's get in the sign-off.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next Monday as we give our first thoughts on Kikokuto Necro-Romance. Let me take that again. I know Jordan's about to say that.
No, you got it. No.
Kyokuto Necro-Zabada.
Sure.
This has been David.
This has been Jordan.
This has been Jan.
And you've been listening to Shonen Flop.
Keep on flopping, floppers!
Yeah.